The day I watched my daughter spit in a maid's face was the day I knew we had created a monster. Let me take you back. Charity wasn't always like this. I swear she wasn't. When she was 3, she used to share her biscuits with the gateman's son. When she was 5, she cried when she saw a hungry dog. But somewhere between childhood and teenage years, something dark crept into her heart and made itself comfortable. We gave her everything. That was our first mistake. My husband, Daniel, owned 3 businesses in the city. I managed a large boutique in the shopping district. Money flowed like tap water in our house. We lived in Lekki Phase 1, where the houses looked like small palaces and the cars in the driveways cost more than most people earned in 5 years. Charity grew up surrounded by softness. Silk bed sheets, expensive shoes, phones that cost 100,000 naira, replaced every 6 months because she got bored of them. She never washed a plate, never swept a floor, never ironed her own uniform. Why would she? We had 3 maids, a driver, a cook, and a gateman. And that's where everything went wrong. It started small. She was 12 when I first noticed the change. "Auntie Grace, this food is cold," she said one evening, pushing her plate across the table with disgust. Grace, our cook, apologized quickly. "Sorry, madam. Let me warm it." Charity rolled her eyes. "If you can't cook properly, maybe you should find another job." I should have corrected her right there. I should have stood up and told her that disrespect would not be tolerated in our house. But I didn't. I told myself she was just being a child, that she would grow out of it. She didn't. By the time she turned 15, Charity had become someone I barely recognized. She spoke to adults like they were beneath her. She shouted at the maids for the smallest mistakes. She threw tantrums when things didn't go her way. One Saturday morning, I watched her throw a glass of water at our youngest maid, Joy, because the girl forgot to put ice in it. "Are you stupid?" Charity screamed. I said ice. Ice. Do you not understand English? Joy stood there, water dripping from her face, tears rolling down her cheeks. She was only 19. She had come from the village to work so she could send money home to her sick mother. I opened my mouth to speak, but Daniel touched my arm. "Let me handle it," he whispered, but he didn't handle it. He never did. He spoke to Charity gently, like she was made of glass, like she might break if he raised his voice. "Princess, you need to be kinder," he said softly. Charity laughed. Actually laughed. "Daddy, please. She's paid to work. If she can't do her job, she should leave." That night, Joy packed her things and left. She didn't even ask for her last salary. She just disappeared. I cried that night. Not because of Joy, though I felt terrible for her. I cried because I knew we had failed as parents. School was no better. Charity attended Greenfield Academy, one of the best private schools in Lagos. The fees alone could feed a family for a year. But Charity treated it like a joke. She came late almost every day. When teachers questioned her, she smiled and walked past them. When she was punished, we got called to the school, and somehow the punishment always disappeared. Daniel made donations. I spoke sweetly to the principal. We smoothed things over. And Charity learned that money could buy her out of anything. Her grades dropped from As to CS, then to DS and FS. She slept in class. She used her phone during lessons. When teachers asked her questions, she laughed. "Sir, I forgot," she would say casually, like forgetting was cute. One day, her class teacher called me. "Mrs. Daniel, we need to talk about Charity." I already knew what was coming. "Her behavior is becoming a problem," the teacher said carefully. "She's disrespectful. She distracts other students. And her grades, they're the worst in the class." I felt shame burn through my chest. I'll talk to her. But talking did nothing. Charity didn't care about school. She didn't care about grades. She believed money would open any door she needed later in life. "Why should I stress myself?" she said one evening when I tried to help her with homework. Daddy has money. I'll be fine. Those words broke my heart. At home, things got worse. Charity stopped greeting visitors. When family friends came over, she stayed in her room, scrolling through Instagram, posting pictures with captions like, "Living my best life," and "Unbothered Queen." One Sunday, my friend Auntie Beezy visited. She was a kind woman, respectful and humble. She sat in the living room, chatting with me when Charity walked in. "Move," Charity said, waving her hand at Auntie Beezy. "You're sitting in my spot." The room went silent. Auntie Beezy looked shocked. I felt my face go hot with embarrassment. "Charity," I said sharply. She shrugged. "What?" "I always sit there." Daniel stood up immediately. "Apologize. Now." Charity rolled her eyes. "For what?" I was just asking her to move. That moment broke something inside Daniel. I saw it in his eyes. The disappointment. The shame. After Auntie Beezy left, we sat Charity down. "Your behavior is unacceptable," Daniel said, his voice shaking. "You embarrass us everywhere. Do you think money can cover bad character?" Charity laughed bitterly. "Daddy, you're exaggerating." That laugh felt like a slap. I covered my face with my hands. I couldn't even look at her. "You have no respect for anyone," Daniel continued. "Not even for us, your parents." Charity stood up angrily. "I'm tired of this talk." She walked out and slammed the door. That night, Daniel and I talked for hours. We talked about our mistakes. We talked about how we had spoiled her. We talked about fear. Fear of losing our daughter to pride and arrogance. "We need to do something," I said, my voice breaking. "Before it's too late." Daniel nodded slowly. "I've been thinking boarding school." My heart sank. "She'll hate us." "Maybe," he said quietly, "but she might learn. And if she doesn't, we will have failed her." We both knew it was the right decision, but knowing didn't make it easier. The next morning, we told Charity. She laughed at first. Then she realized we were serious. "You can't do this to me," she screamed. "I'm not going anywhere. This is for your own good," I said, tears streaming down my face. "I hate you," she shouted. "I hate both of you." Those words stabbed me deep. But I didn't change my mind. The school we chose was called Victory Heights. It was known across the state for one thing: discipline. Parents whispered about it in low tones. "They don't play there," they said. Mrs. Offeranta doesn't joke. Mrs. Offeranta was the housemistress of Sapphire House, the strictest dormitory in the school. Stories about her spread like wildfire. She didn't shout. She didn't beat students. But she didn't tolerate nonsense either. "She trains children," one parent told me. "She breaks pride like it's nothing." I felt both hope and fear. The day we took Charity to the school, the air was heavy with tension. Charity packed her bags angrily, slamming things around, complaining loudly. "Why so many clothes?" she snapped. "Am I going to prison?" No one answered. When we arrived at the school gate, Charity stepped out of the car and froze. The buildings were tall, old, and serious looking. No flashy colors. No smiling posters. Just order. Students walked in straight lines. No noise. No laughter. Charity's face went pale. I hugged her tightly. "Remember who you are." She didn't hug me back. "You'll regret this," she said coldly. Daniel nodded slowly. "One day, you'll understand." We drove away, leaving her standing there, looking small and lost. I cried the entire drive home. 2 weeks later, Charity called me for the first time. Her voice was different. Quieter. Tired. "Mommy," she said softly. "How are you, my dear?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. There was a long pause. Then she spoke. "I hate it here." My heart broke. But I stayed strong. "Give it time, Charity. You'll adjust." "They treat me like a nobody here," she whispered. "I have to sweep. I have to wash plates. I have to wake up at 5 a.m. Good, I thought. But I didn't say it. You're learning, I said instead. That's the point. She was silent for a moment. Then she said something that shocked me. Mrs. Offeranta, she's different. She doesn't shout, but she sees everything. I smiled through my tears. That's good, Charity. Listen to her. I don't know if I can do this, Mommy. You can, I said firmly. You're stronger than you think. When the call ended, I sat in silence. For the first time in years, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. 3 months passed. Charity stopped calling to complain. In fact, she stopped calling much at all. At first, I worried. Had something happened? Was she okay? But then I got a call from Mrs. Offeranta. Mrs. Daniel, I wanted to update you on Charity's progress. My heart raced. Is everything all right? She's adjusting well, Mrs. Offeranta said calmly. She's learning. I almost cried with relief. She still struggles with authority sometimes, Mrs. Offeranta continued. But she's trying, and that's what matters. Thank you, I whispered. Thank you so much. When I hung up, Daniel looked at me hopefully. Well, she's changing, I said, tears in my eyes. Our daughter is changing. Charity's POV. I hated this place when I first arrived. The rules, the early mornings, the hard beds, the tasteless food, the endless chores. But most of all, I hated Mrs. Offeranta. She didn't shout. She didn't hit. She just looked at you. And somehow, that was worse. The first time I refused to sweep, she called me aside. Why didn't you sweep? She asked calmly. I folded my arms. I don't do that. She nodded. You will. I was punished. Extra duties. Kneeling under the sun. Missing lunch. I cried that night. I cried because I was angry. I cried because I was tired. I cried because I missed home. But slowly something shifted. I started waking up on time. I started making my bed. I started helping others. And one day, Mrs. Offeranta said something that changed everything. You're improving. Those 2 words broke me. I hadn't been praised in so long. I didn't even know I needed it. 6 months later, asterisk. When Charity came home for the holidays, I almost didn't recognize her. She stepped out of the car, and I gasped. She looked different. Her face was calm. Her eyes were clear. She smiled, really smiled, and it reached her eyes. Mommy, she said softly, hugging me tightly. I held her and cried. Over the next few days, I watched her closely. She helped in the kitchen. She greeted visitors. She said please and thank you. One evening, she found Joy's phone number and called her. Auntie Joy, it's Charity. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I was cruel. Please forgive me. I stood in the doorway, tears streaming down my face. My daughter had come back to me. Not the same girl who left. Someone better. Someone humble. Someone kind. Someone who finally understood that character was worth more than money. And as I watched her laugh with her father that night, I knew one thing for certain. Sometimes, the hardest thing a parent can do is let their child struggle. But it's also the most loving.